Well, good afternoon, Michelle.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I am just great. So today I'm going to teach you some of the basics of playing the violin, which I have right here. We are going to go over the parts of the violin and the bow. Following that, we're going to work on posture. We're going to learn the note names of the strings. We're going to work on your bow hold, and we're going to get you bowing right away. So first things first is the parts of the violin. So up at the top, we have the scroll. Down below it, these little black things, these are the pegs. Now the important thing to remember is pegs are used for tuning, but you don't want to use them every time you tune. We'll get to that in a little bit, but basically these pegs will change the intonation of each string by a lot. So even a slight movement is going to drastically alter the pitch of the string. So you have the peg box, which is where all the pegs are held. The nut. Fingerboard, this is where you'll place the fingers to play notes, but we won't be using that today. The neck, you have the upper bout, some people call it the shoulder of the violin. C bout is this little indentation here. You have the F holes. These are where the sound of the violin resonates. You have the bridge, which lifts the strings up so that you can play. You'll generally want to play between the bridge and the neck of the violin, right in here, to get the best sound. And we'll go more in depth in that in a little bit. You have the sound post. Fine tuners, these are where you'll do most of your tuning from. These will adjust the pitch of each string by just a little bit. You have the tailpiece, chin rest, which we'll go over the position of the chin rest in a little while, and the end button. So that's the part. Those are the parts of the violin. It's a lot of stuff to remember, but I'll help you remember them as best as I possibly can. So if you look at the bow is made up of 7 parts. You have the tip, the stick, the winding, the adjusting screw, which is used to tighten the bow hairs. You have the frog, which is where you'll end up gripping the bow. The ferrule right here is kind of where you're going to have your thumb placement. And you have the bow hairs. And the important thing to remember about bow hairs is you do not want to touch them. They're very delicate. They are made out, do you know what kind of bow hair they're made out of? Horsehair. Great, you know your stuff. So yeah, very delicate. You don't want to touch them with your hands as much as possible. So now that we know the parts of the violin and the bow, we are going to work on posture. So the first thing I want you to do, we're going to do a little activity. I call it marionetting or something like that. So you're gonna slump in your chair. Pretend you're like a marionette puppet. You're just slumping down, and the puppeteer is gonna bring you up by the strings. You're gonna go straight up, and you want to feel like someone has a string that's pulling straight up from your head. You want your shoulder to be relaxed. Yep, just like that. So now we get to holding the violin. Now, because we're not going to work with fingers today, I want you to hold the violin by the left shoulder here. You're just going to hold it by the shoulder, bring it up to your chin. It's going to go to the left side of your jaw, right under there. Now, for better comfort, I have a shoulder rest. Well, it's more like a sponge than a shoulder rest, but that's what we have here today. So that should help make it a little more comfortable. Just bring that up, with the back straight. You want feet flat on the floor. Yep, just like that. All right, so let's see you demonstrate that. There you go. All right. So when you're playing the violin, you want to tilt your head so that you can look at the strings when you need to. Yeah, just like that. Good. All right, if you want to hand the violin back to me. I'm going to go over standing posture. I'm not going to make you replicate it.
Okay.
But for the sake of knowing, if you have to stand and play, you're going to turn back around. So when you're getting ready to stand, you want to take your right foot and place it a little bit in front of the left foot. Feet apart, nice and comfortable. Do what feels best for you. Hold the violin out by holding the shoulder. Bring it out, up, and in. Should be a nice, comfortable position. You shouldn't have any tension in the legs. Makes for easier playing when you're standing up. Okay, so now we are going to go over the notes of each string. We're going to start with pizzicato. Now, do you know what pizzicato is?
Kind of.
So pizzicato, you know, most of the time when you watch a violinist, they're bowing. They're using the bow to create a sound with the strings. With pizzicato, rather than bowing, you're using your fingers and you're plucking. So that's pizzicato. Something that's important to remember with pizzicato is when you're plucking the string, you don't want to pluck in between the bridge and the neck like we've done with, like I told you about with bowing. Instead, you're going to pluck above it, up here. So the notes of the strings. The lowest string is the G string. Then you have the D string, the A string, and the E string. So if you just want to pluck those, you can hold it kind of like a guitar and just practice plucking like that. Get a feel for what they sound like. Good. You can just hold on to it for now. So the reason why we pluck above the what we call the bow highway is because, you know, you get residue and stuff on your fingers, and when you're plucking, if you pluck down there, you can get residue on the bows, which can mess with the sound when you're actually bowing. So it's important that you pluck above that area. I'm going to call out a note name, and we'll see if you can remember which string it is. So let's start nice and easy. G string. Good. D string. Great. A string. Good. And E string. So what do you notice about these pitches? Think about the relationship between the G and the D. What's the relationship between those pitches?
A fifth.
Yes, it's a perfect fifth. Now between D and A, what do we have?
A fifth.
Yep. And between A and E?
A fifth.
Yes. So the strings are a perfect fifth apart, which is an easy way to remember which string is what note. As long as you can remember that the lowest is G. So let's keep going. I'm going to call out another name. I'm going to mix it up this time, and let's see if you can pluck the right string. So let's try the D string. Good. E string. G string. A string. Perfect. So if you want to hand the violin over to me really quickly. Now, if you're ever playing in a concert and you're pizzicatoing, you're going to hold it just like I showed you earlier, up with your chin rest. And with your hand, I usually put my thumb right here on the corner of this neck. And I pluck above it like that. But good, you know the names of the notes. So now, let's get to the bow hold. Alright, so I already told you a little bit about the parts of the bow. We're going to learn about setup really quickly. So this is the adjusting screw. And just like any screw that you know, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So if you want to tighten the bow hairs, turn it to the right. Now, the important thing about tightening the bow hairs is you don't want to make them too tight. If you make them too tight, it can affect your sound in a bad way. In the same regards, you don't want it too loose. And a good way to judge that is with the pinky. You should just be able to fit your pinky through the bow in the middle section. All right, so let's work on bow grip. I'm going to have you hold on to the bow. You can just hold it like that for now. And I'm going to use a pencil. Actually, you know what? Let's switch. I'm going to use the bow. You're going to use a pencil for now, and then we'll switch. Okay. So with your index finger, it's going to go over the top of the bow, wrap around it. Depending on how big your hand is, it could be around the winding. Your middle and ring finger, think of them as glued together. They're going to be stuck together. And they are going to go, this is what we call the eye of the frog. It's going to go over the eye. And I realize with the pencil there's not really an eye to go off of. But bear with me. And then the pinky is the most important part. You see the sticker I have on my bow?
Yes.
That is where your pinky is going to go. It's not going to wrap around like my other three fingers. It's going to be placed right on top. This helps you give better balance to your bow, so it's not like waving around all the time. And finally, the thumb. The thumb is going to go arch into the ferrule like this. You see it?
Yes.
Yeah. So altogether, your bow hold should look something like this. Good. Good. So let's practice with that pencil. You're going to practice the feeling of the bow. What's important is you don't want your shoulder to move very much. You want most of the movement to come with your forearm. Think of your elbow as like a door hinge, and it's going to kind of open up. This is important because, if you're waving your arm like this, the angle of your bow is going to alter. And you know how I talked about how you want to hit right in what I call the bow highway. Mm-hmm. If your bow angle is going all over, you'll start to end up playing like up here by the neck, and that's not what you want. Yeah. It'll affect the sound. Good. So let's try. I'm going to give you the bow, and let's see what you have. Oh, gosh. Yeah, just like that. So the further you can get that thumb in for better support, the better. I mean, obviously you don't want to like jam it through the entire bow. There you go. Good, just like that. Now one thing with your pinky, you don't want it to like bend down like that. You kind of want to.
So pinky.
It's difficult. It's something that you have to get used to. But for now, it's pretty good. I'm very proud of your bow hold. All right, so you're gonna hand it back to me really quick. We're gonna work on some bowing. So I taught you a few of the the names of the open strings. You're going to hold the violin by the shoulder again. You're just going to start on the G string and try to make a nice note out of that. There you go. Yeah, it'll take some getting used to trying to get that bow hold with one hand. Yep, and you have to adjust the angle. There you go. You are a natural, Michelle. So, like I said, you kind of adjust the angle to hit the other strings. So let's start with the G string. Now move over to the D. There you go. Move over to the A. There you go. And the E string. Perfect. Look at that. You are a natural at violin. Okay, so we're going to try the same exercise that we tried with the pizzicato. I'm going to name a note, and you play that note on the open string. So let's start with A. Let's try G. E string. And D string. Perfect. You're getting a really nice sound, which is exactly what we want. So the last thing we're going to take care of today is we're going to play a short little exercise that'll get you working on transitioning between the strings. This is all about the bow angle. Now something to remember is generally, unless it's otherwise marked, you're going to start with a down bow. So let's look at number 4. 2 is a team. You're going to start on the D string. You're going to play it 3 times, down, up, down. Next measure, you move to the A string. It'll be up, down, up. Next measure, back to the D. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So working on that bowing might take a little bit of practice, but I have confidence in you, Michelle. So let's start on 2 as a team. We're going to do nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Great. You've got a good grasp on it so early. Now, you notice every now and then you might have accidentally played 2 notes at a time. Yeah. That's something called double stop, which we'll take care of in a future lesson. But for now, let's look at number 5 at Pierrot's door. And we're going to play that exercise using just the D and A strings. And you're just going to practice transitioning between them. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Good. So if you want to hand me the violin bow, I'm going to model it really quickly, and then we'll try it one more time. One, 2, ready, go. Yeah, so working on that bow angle, it's something that's going to take a lot of practice. Getting that elbow in closer to your side when you move to a higher string. All right. Oh, can you see the music? I should angle it so it's a little bit easier for you to see. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, play. Great. So the next step for you, I think, is going to be working on keeping the bow in between the bow highway that I've told you about. Keeping it like right where the F holes are to give you the best sound possible. And we'll work on that in future lessons. But for now, I just want to close really quickly with working on taking care of your instrument. So I'll take the bow back and the violin. And we're just going to show you really quickly how to take care of the bow. So you notice, I'm going to touch the bow hairs really quickly. Don't tell Dr. Marshall about this. There's some residue on there. You see like a little white stuff? So that is the rosin. Rosin helps with the sound that you get when using your bow. So to use the rosin, it's going to come in like a little bar like this. And you want to get some of it, scraped off so that it will rub onto the bow. And my tip for doing that is to use the adjusting screw and just scratch a little bit like that. Then taking the bow hair, using the proper bow hold. You're just gonna stroke the entire bow through the rosin a few times. So you want to try that really quickly? Sure. It's good practice for your bowing too. Great, you got it. All right, Well, Michelle, I'm very proud of how much you accomplished in only, I don't know, how long have you been recording? 20 minutes. Look at that. You are a natural. Thank you so much for coming here for your
You're
lesson today, and I will see you next week.
All right.